Hello guys, it is Ryan here, and today I'm just gonna be showing you a quick game between white as Anand and black as Topalov in the candidates round 8. I thought it was a pretty interesting game. There are also two other interesting games, Mamadev beating Aronian and Karyakin beating Kramnik. There were more wins than usual, actually, but aside from the point, I've decided to look at this game, Anand vs. Topalov, because I think it is good to analyze and see kind of where Topalov went wrong and see where he could have improved. And yeah, so first move e4. Topalov plays c5. Anand goes out with knight f3, not going for a Grand Prix or anything, which is pretty common. And Topalov plays d6. So now Topalov's either going to play the Scheveningen or the Kahn or the Najdorf. It really depends. So Anand plays d4, open, Sicilian. Topalov plays c takes d4, and Anand plays knight takes d4. So now it really depends what Topalov wants to play. He has a wide variety of moves, but he's probably going to play the Najdorf because that's what usually the top players do. So he plays, Topalov plays knight f6, and of course, to defend the pawn, white plays knight c3. And now Topalov plays a6, and Anand plays h3. h3 is a pretty aggressive move, actually. Of course, you're planning g4, so, and fianchetto the bishop, and kind of have a kingside attack, so it's interesting what Topalov want to do here. There are many different variations, but Topalov just plays, e6, so he's just going with it, oh my gosh. And now white plays g4. So g4 is mainly to put your bishop on g2. Play g5. Also, sometimes when you play g4, there are sacrifices along the lines of knight f5, but not really in this case, but just maybe sometimes. Knight d7. So I think that's basically, knight d7 is basically to not get attacked when he plays g5 and try to go for knight e5. And I actually think this opening is called the English attack for white. So yeah, so knight d7, interesting move. So knight e5 and knight c5, and g5 doesn't do anything now. Bishop g2, just developing with the fianchetto. It's pretty natural. Bishop to e7, just developing also. Bishop e3. All of these moves are good developing moves in the opening for white and black. Knight c6. Well, his black's knight basically didn't have anywhere to go unless c6 or yeah. So basically, knight c6 is the only move, but it's also a good one. And now Anand plays h4. So, he's basically saying that, yeah, I want to do kingside attack. But now, let's look into a variation with bishop takes h4. Because now, what should Anand do? Did he just lose a pawn? No, actually, because now he can play knight takes c6, b takes c6, and queen takes d6. And the computer rates this position as approximately +2 pawns around. So, yeah, Topalov shouldn't have done that. And he didn't, which is good for him. Instead, he played knight d e5, which is a good move, and it's threatening to play knight c4 at some later time. g4, g5, it's good. It's an attacking move with the pawn. Releases the queen from the defensive g4. Bishop d7, another good developing move. And also, whenever white plays f4, black is going to try to play knight c4. So, yeah. Now, Anand plays knight takes c6. Looks like a pretty good move. I would try to play like queen e2, but I don't see any problem with the Anand's move. It's just that I think queen e2 is a good move. Oh my gosh. Annoying. So, yeah, but he takes it. That's okay. b3. So, now b3 is to prevent knight c4 and try to play f5. f4, I mean, sorry. So, black plays f5, and now arises an interesting position because black wants to try to make some commotion in the center and try to challenge white. So, if white en-passants it, then black can take with the bishop. And even though e6 is weak for black, the bishop just has a really good diagonal from ha to a1. And there's not much white can do about it. If he wants to play queen d2, then you can always try to play knight g4. And it's just that the dark squares are really weak because of b3. So because Anand played b3, he wouldn't want to en-passant. So he played f4, which is a good move. Now black is basically forced to play knight g4. It's basically the most active move. In my opinion, I would have played queen e2. Maybe play queen e2 maybe later because I just want a castle and I don't want anything to kind of harm me. But he plays f4, knight g4, and also I would play queen e2 because now e takes f5. So, and now Anand plays queen e2. So now he's threatening, well, he's not threatening anything yet, but he is guarding the bishop on g2. So black has to be a bit careful here. So knight takes e3, good move. Queen takes e3. So now it's basically two bishops for black versus a bishop and a knight for white. But white has a lot of pawns advanced in the center. Black's pawns aren't really high up, but it doesn't really matter though much. And now he plays, Topalov plays f takes e4. So as you can probably see, bishop takes e4 is impossible because of d5, and you're going to play d4 next, so you can't do that. And just all the other moves are kind of bad because of d5. Knight takes e4, d5. It's just not really good for white because black is now coming out in the center. So what makes a good move in castle's queenside? It puts pressure on black's pawns, and now he's threatening to take e4 without any problems. Black still plays d5 because he just opens his bishop, and it's a good move. Knight takes e4. It's a good move because now the dark squares are fairly weak for black, actually. There are a lot of outposts for white that he can jump into, as you will see pretty quickly after a couple moves. Bishop a3 check. Nice. King b1. Queen e7. So getting the queen out of the pin and now attacking. And now white's dark squares are weak. And now knight f2. So as you can already see, he's trying to jump into the outposts, and like knight d3 and knight e5 or knight g4 and knight e5. And so basically because of that, black plays his next move, bishop c5, so he can take the knight and not let the knight control his position. Because if it gets to either d4 or e5, it's going to be completely overpowering, and white is just going to play h5 and h6 and g6. So black plays bishop c5 to try to take the knight. Queen g3, good move, and basically it's a trade now. And black castles. So we get this position in the kind of middle endgame-ish thing, more to the middle game, where black has a bad light-scored bishop, white has a good light-scored bishop, and the dark squares for black are actually really weak, and the pawn on e6 is backwards. It is a good target, and yeah, so white has a slight edge in this position, and the computer says it's around half a pawn up. So queen d4 to centralize the queen, because queen centralization is always really good, and he wants to take advantage of the dark squares and not let black make any improvements in the center. Black plays rook f5 to try to create pressure on the f4 pawn and the means of doubling up, and maybe try to play e5 in the long run if he can. Rook d e1 is a good move. No e5 for black. It's just putting a stop to everything he wants to do. Rook f8, putting pressure on f4. So white plays rook h f1 to block it. Black plays queen d6 to create more pressure, and white has two moves in this position, but rook e4 is kind of weird. So rook e5 is a good move. Basically, like, stops everything he wants to do again. And now Topalov goes into a trade, which is probably the best scenario for him, because right now he can't really do anything. So he plays rook takes e5 and f takes e5. Good choice. If queen takes e5, then the trades and white won't really get anywhere, and it would probably be a draw. So rook takes f1, bishop takes f1, and white has a pretty good endgame right now. And black plays queen e7 to get off. If he played queen f8, then white would play bishop h3 and he would kind of lose the tempo, because like if bishop d7, then he can play something like queen b6, and it's just not good for black. So queen e7 and a4. So good move. Planning a5, blocking the pawns on the queen side, and he also has a queen side majority kind of, so it's just a good move all around. Bishop to e8, trying to re-maneuver the bishop, if that's what you say it, maneuver the bishop to maybe g6 or h5, because as you can see on c6 it's miserable. It's like a big pawn and it's just blocked by its own pawns. King b2, good move, just developing the king, and yeah, king activity is important. Bishop g6, as I thought, activating the bishop. Bishop h3, putting pressure on the e6 pawn. And now h6 for Topalov. So now that he played h6, things get kind of complicated, because if he didn't play h6, then what would black do? He's tied down on e6, and white can kind of do whatever he wants, but black really can't. So h6 is kind of like making an action in his like kind of miserable position. Anand takes, good, take, and now queen g4. Now he's threatening queen takes e6 and h5, along with taking the bishop on g6. So there's basically only one move, which is king f7. And now white plays a good move, which is h5. So he's basically fixing the pawn on h6 and is having a lot of play. Black is kind of in a zugzwang right now. He really can't do anything. Bishop e4 and a5, and now black is just like it's funny, it's like a zugzwang. Like the queen can only move to d7 or e8, and then the bishop can only move back and forth, and the pawns can't move anywhere, which is desperate kind of, because bishop h7 and now c3. He's just improving his position, which is what the really good players do. They just slowly make their position better, not make any like forceful actions before their position is the best they can be, because black is kind of in a zugzwang right now, so Anand doesn't need to hurry. Bishop e4, c4, good move. Now if the bishop moves, then he's going to play probably c takes d5, e takes d5 and e6. So black now needs to play bishop f5, but he loses a pawn because of queen f4. There's no way to guard the bishop. So now if he plays queen g5 to guard the bishop, then queen takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes f5, pawn takes h6. And now the position is basically winning. He can also bring his king over. Yeah, so like if he plays here, then check there and here, and now queen is going to come with the check, and it's just not working out for black, so he doesn't play that because it's complete. And instead he plays d takes c4. But the game is slowly slipping away for Topalov, and now after bishop takes f5, e takes, queen takes f5. He can't move his king to the g file because of queen g6. So king e8, and now queen c8 check, king f7, and queen takes c4, and the game is kind of already lost after king g7 and queen d5, so because the passer in the center is kind of impossible to stop now. With some precise play from Anand, the game is basically over. King e8, b4, queen c7 check, king d5, king d4. Notice how Anand is not giving Topalov any checks. Queen e7, queen g8 check, king d7, and king d5. Topalov has no checks right now. It's almost possible, but he has no checks, and well, unless you count queen d6 and queen c5 check and queen takes e5, then no checks. No checks that doesn't lose the queen. King c7, queen g6, cutting off the queen now and the king, and threatening queen d6. Queen h4, queen d6 check, king c8, king c5. Now everything that Topalov is going to do is going to be blocked by queen d4. Queen f2 check, queen d4, queen f7, queen c4. Just, he can never trade queens. Queen g7, king b6, just slowly. King b6 check, king b8, queen c5, queen f7. And now, Anand wins easily. If you can find it, just pause the video right now. But if you already found it, it's quite simple. Queen d6 check, king c8, and e6, and Topalov resigned in view of queen f2 check, queen c5 check, and the game is over. Can't do anything anymore. And that was the game. I hope you enjoyed this first commentary that I did over a game. If my voice sounds a bit weird, I think it's because of the microphone, but sorry about that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. And bye.